Slightly above average gamers, way above average podcast. Welcome to the Slightly Above Average Gaming Podcast with your hosts, J007TV and Subone KD.
All right, let's get that shared.
Once again, they have a hard time. Make it so damn hard to share your stream from the platform. I don't know why. Oh, 96, huh? I've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's done there.
J006 Season 5 and Battlefield 6.
All right,
Sweet.
there we go. I'm ready when you are.
That out. Pull it up here real quick.
Shit, dude, I still got to go out and walk. I should have done it this morning, but I was tired.
You should have. You should have. I got these new IEMs, and the cords are they just pop off my ears. They're going to bug the crap out of me all day. I don't know how to fix it. Hold on. Maybe I can do this. Maybe this will fix it. Whatever. All right. We're here. We're ready.
Hit the jingle, baby. Welcome, everyone, to episode 96 of the Slightly Above Average Gaming Podcast. I am J007TV, joined, as always, by the homie Subone KD. What's up, man?
Oh, not much. Just, getting fired up. We've had kind of a busy week, both in gaming and outside of it for me. How was your weekend?
Well, my week was pretty good. I went down to Houston on Tuesday, came back Thursday. It's my busy time for the year. So April, I had my biggest forecast ever in 18 years, and I missed by $700,000, which is a considerable amount. So I was because I was up for the year before then, and then it put me down for the year. And between May, June, and then July, I've all but brought it back within like $30,000, which is nothing.
Sweet.
Like
that's
a big like
gain.
One truckload of what I do. So yeah, it's been really crazy for work, and then just staying active, dude. I hit over 10,000 steps 3 times this week already.
That'll do it, because you were traveling a bit.
Yep. Yeah, we're I'm just really staying focused on trying to get right physically and get in shape, man. How about you? How was your week?
So we had a while back, I bought a trailer and got it home, like a horse trailer. Got it home, and the wheels were the tires were shot. It seemed fine when I checked it out in the yard, and then by the time I got it home, there were big old cracks all along the sidewall of the tires. They were done for. I don't know how they held air at all, much less driven the 200 miles from where I bought it to my house. So that was, unfortunate. But we went and bought. What did we do? We bought some. I bought some tires, and I'm like, it can't, you look online and you see a bunch of rednecks changing, flipping tires on their rims, no problem. And I'm like, how hard could that be? If you don't have the right tools, it's very hard. And so I spent all of Saturday swapping 2 of the tires and nearly died multiple times. And then I went out and bought the right tools and flipped them pretty reliably, except for one tire or one wheel, where it turns out that they kind of changed how the bead sits on the wheel in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And so tires older than the 50s aren't compatible with new tires. And there's an intermediate period where the tires are the tires from the 60s through the 80s or whatever. They fit both sets, but the modern tires don't fit the oldest wheels. And so I spent an ungodly amount of time trying to fit a new tire on an old wheel, and it was a disaster. And so it turns out that I had found a wheel on the side of the road that I picked up because, hey, it looks like it'd be a good spare for my trailer. And it turns out to have been the exact wheel that I was missing from the set.
What in the hell, dude? You've got the best luck with stuff like that. Holy crap.
So got it aired up, took the horse to lessons, Went really well. And then on the way home, I watched in my rearview mirror as one of the wheels just rolled off.
Okay, so you don't have good luck. Jesus.
But so I don't know. Yeah, I think there was something wrong with at least one of the nuts. I think either it was worn. I had trouble getting one of the nuts to seat properly, so it must have been too worn to sit, or it wasn't seated properly or whatever, and it just, one comes off and then they're all going to wobble their way off. And so, but recovered the wheel and ordered some, replacement lugs, and it'll be fine.
Wow. Dude, I was going to tell you. Yeah, you did. I was going to tell you. So, wife's birthday is this week, right? Like it's Wednesday. And I took off on Friday. There's this thing that they built here. It's about 10 miles from where I live. It's called World Springs. And it's a bunch of pools that simulate different natural springs from around the world. Iceland, Japan, France, the Dead Sea, stuff like that. And they're like various temperatures. So we went and did that yesterday. Some of them have shade over them. Some of them are in the sun or whatever. And they had some cold plunges, water's like 54 degrees.
Oh,
I lasted about 15 seconds. That was I'm serious. Like it was, so we went and did that. Cause I took her for that as part of her birthday present. Like it was pretty relaxing, dude. We were there for 3 hours. Okay. They have a restaurant. They had a bar. Like, yeah, we just kind of vibed out in the sun, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I got some new IEMs I'm working on. Truth Ear Zero Red.
Did you send me the link for that?
I don't know why anime women are on every single IEM box.
Because they're all made over there.
Okay, but everything's made over there. Why is it covered in anime? Anyway, it is what it is. And they're good, but these wires, like you can see it. It just pops off my ear. I don't know how to fix this. So anybody who runs these, let me know if you have a recommendation of a wire that'll sit behind my ear properly instead of popping off of it every 5 seconds, because that's going to get real irritating real fast. Otherwise, yeah, been a little on the quiet side of things. Just, right now I'm finishing that degree, so I'm grinding through the toughest part of the term, and then I'll be done for the most.
Yeah, it's weird. I've noticed that you and I are actually talking less than usual. Usually we have about a 10:15 or 10:30 a.m. call most days, and it's not really been doing that because I've been busy, but also you've been busy too. Like,
yeah.
And you know what, dude? What do you got, another month before school starts for your kids? They start in September?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, mine start on the 12th. So however long. So yeah, almost
so about the same time.
Yeah. So
it's gonna, and it's been it'll be nice to kind of get back to a routine for everybody. Summer's great, but it's been an action-packed summer for us. We've been busy. There's been a lot going on.
It seems like your kids literally just got out of school.
Yeah, they got out a little bit. They got out on time. I don't know, like first week of June.
So it was right after Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm. Or right before, I don't know. So yeah, I think right after.
I told you I bought a car we got my kid a car.
You were shopping for it. I didn't hear what you got. What'd you end up with?
I went to lunch with one of my clients in Oklahoma, and we were sitting there. I was like, yeah, I got to get my son a car. He's about to get his license, da-da-da-da-da. And the guy's like, well, what are you looking for? And I'm like, either a little truck or a Honda Civic, like a later model Honda Civic. So he's like, are you kidding me? And I said, no. And he's like, well, we're putting my daughter's Honda Civic on the market tomorrow.
Sweet.
It's an 08 with like 160,000 miles on it, but dude, it's the perfect little car for him. Perfect. So we had to put new tires on it and everything. But I mean, and charge the AC. But aside from that, dude, it's in pretty good shape. So I'm about to have an actual driver in the house. Like he's,
how's his driving been? Because I know my oldest, it's a little dicey when she's driving.
He he hugs the right lane, like the right side of the lane too much, and his braking kind of sucks sometimes, like coming up to a stop sign. That I mean, literally, I'm puckering up every single time we come to a red light if there's a car in front, because it's like, bro, you got to like stop, like start decelerating a lot sooner than that, please. But I mean, aside from that, he's fine. He doesn't drive fast, so that's good.
Good.
In fact, I have to tell him to speed up. Go the speed limit.
Well, that's good. Geez, who needs to speed up is Call of Duty with getting us stuff that's worth dealing with. Because, the World Series of Warzone is not going to be it this year. Did you get your tickets? Did you get your tickets for World Series of Warzone? No.
No, I was going to. I wanted to, especially if it was going to be in North America. And then I find out what happened, and I'm like, honestly, dude, they don't care about good players or competitive Warzone. They don't care.
I'm gonna step that back, because I think there's a difference between caring about good players and caring about money. I will say this: I don't understand how World Series of Warzone has made a dime. Not one dime. It's $1 million prize pool. They rent out a giant arena. They sell tickets that were what was it last year when you went? It was.
Well, I went to the CDL. I didn't go to the World Series of Warzone. That was Silencer and Xanthus.
Okay, but the tickets, they were only like what,
$70 or $80
for like the weekend, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to think about this though, dude. I think they can monetize that, and they probably have. It's just not turning a profit in the way that people think it should. It's a marketing tool, is what it is. That's what you have to approach it as.
The cost to just rent an arena in the first, because they had what? They had one in London and they had one in Vegas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And London was last year, or Vegas was last year?
Vegas was last year.
Vegas was last year. Renting an arena in Vegas, I don't know when the last time you've been to Vegas is, but hotel rooms, like nothing is cheap in Vegas.
Yeah, I heard Vegas is not the Vegas from back in the day anymore. No, everything's fucking.
Vegas is like, let's just overspend on everything. Vegas.
And nickel and dime you, like $50 for a person breakfast buffet and stuff.
I mean, just the venue probably ran them $500,000
at the Orleans.
Probably more.
I mean, that's not really one of the nicest casinos or hotels there. I mean, maybe.
But the venue space, I mean, I know when I used to do conventions in Vegas, the convention space, like just to get the venue, not even the staffing for it, was like $300,000, and that was almost 20 years ago.
Well, and then a lot of times you can't even bring in your own people to put everything together. It's union.
You have to use theirs. Well, yeah, because that's the thing. You have to use their unionized workforce to do everything, right?
And you can't, everything takes fucking forever to get done.
Yeah. So like, there's no like if they are in it $1 million up front just to do the event, not promoting it, not handling not talking about their equipment, just like if it's $1 million just to get the venue and show up and turn the lights on, like I'll be surprised if it's that low, right? Like this is not the sort of thing that is going to be like an affordable thing, and I just can't imagine like that Activision or Microsoft has pocketed a dime for all of World Series of Warzone.
Maybe
I can't imagine it. I mean, you got $1 million in the tournament, like so you're shelling out $1 million, which last year they had trouble actually coming up with the money apparently. To hear it from some of the competitors.
Yeah, they weren't even getting paid like 6 or 8 months in.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you've got the cost of the event, right? The cost to stream it. I mean, what do you get paid? What do you get paid for 1 million views on YouTube, right? Like a couple 100,000. It's not like they're gonna make $1 million on the stream.
I don't think they expect to. That's what I was just about to say, though. I don't know that they necessarily expect to, because I mean, you know how it is in like sales, marketing, advertising. A lot of times there are things that you're not going to be able to quantify what your ROI is on it, on your return on the investment, but it's just kind of a necessary thing that you do, Like, I don't think they're not making money there. They're making money by people watching it and then going and buying the skins and all the other bullshit. That's where everything revolves around that fucking store.
But there's got to be a return on it. They've got to somehow measure a return, and things like, there's got to be, they've got to have a measurable uptick in sales, a measurable uptick in daily active users. There's got to be some way to measure like your investment, right? You're not going to sink a couple $1 million into a marketing stunt and have no way of knowing if it's helping, because at the end of the day, that is terrible, like financial efforts, right? Like if somebody's greenlighting that year after year and they can't tell you if it's improved things at all, like that person needs to be removed from their job.
Well, I mean, like we've talked about, Activision is a marketing company that happens to make a video game once in a while that's decent. Like that's, yeah. I truly believe that I know they're not expecting to turn like NFL level types of profits or anything crazy like that. It's probably just all part of the marketing budget,
Yeah, but I mean, again, like, I would expect if it were my thing and I'm dropping that cash, like, all right, I expect to excluding prize money, which they probably will raise from somewhere, sponsors or something. But excluding prize money, I would expect to be able to have, an uptick in metrics for a certain number of periods surrounding it, right? Like I would say, hey, the hype of World Series of Warzone should increase, retention by X amount, should increase viewership by X amount, should do all of these things. And if they're not able to do that, then there's like no way that they're going to be able to, there's no good way to justify it.
Yeah. I don't know. It is what it is. I think that scene is, if Repulse is going to have to drag that scene forward. Like it's, and they could even, the problem is though, is so people tried to have Comp COD, I'm not affiliated with Call of Duty in that way, but Activision wanted to get their fucking hands in the comp side of things. So, you know what I mean? Like there's a way to do it where, take it private.
I mean, and maybe they end up doing that, or they do a partnership with a third party. I'll say this too, like there's no competitive integrity if it's not on LAN. Fact. None whatsoever. And so if you're not, and then doing something on LAN is just ridiculously expensive.
Well, I mean, it is, especially because you got to figure like where you have to do something like that, Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. I honestly,
mean, it's not like you could do this in Cincinnati, right? Like the number of people that are going to go to Cincinnati for this, low.
Well, did you see? So like the CDL, they had champs up in Canada and like some fucking weird some city I've never even heard of up there. And it was a fucking ghost town most days, except for I think Championship Sunday, which by the way, Optic, back-to-back CDL champions, and they won the Esports World Cup. No team has ever done that before. And the way they started the season is to be able to do that's pretty remarkable, actually.
Nice. Yeah. No, I mean, they've been a powerhouse. Didn't they start this last year's out pretty bad too?
They went through a little bit of a rough stretch last year. Last year, it was like Major I think more in the middle.
Didn't they bomb Major 2 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. And it was because also like their search and destroy, I think they lost like 15 search and destroys in a row last year or something. Yeah, it was bad. It was pretty I remember them
bad. Talking about it when I was watching it.
And they, what's funny is they went through several roster changes this year. Mm-hmm. They brought in Skies, they brought in Hook, and then let Hook go, and then brought him back, and then he was on the the championship roster for both teams, for both events, so, and a big contributor too.
Yeah.
But they brought up, so one of the cool things is they brought up Mercules, who was an OMIT. He was on Team OMIT in the Challenger circuit. And that dude is a fucking beast, bro. He actually this year, because they won the EWC, I think now holds the record for most money earned by a rookie. And it's like almost $400,000. You imagine getting paid $400,000 to play a video game?
I can imagine it. It doesn't seem real that's money out. I mean, look, we're from the generation which our parents told us to put down the video games and study so that we can get a job, because no one's going to pay us to play video games.
Nowadays,
Nowadays, people don't even understand. Like you say that, and people like this generation has never heard that in their lives.
No. No, and I mean, and it starts young too, because back when we were kids, it was go outside and don't come in until the street lights come on or until I call you. Now it's like screen time. That's what kids do. Like, I was talking with my buddy about this the other day. He's like, yeah, my son, he doesn't go outside. He literally just, he's on, VR.
I mean, that's not necessarily healthy anyway either, but I guess if you're going to go pro, you go pro on it. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Did you play any Warzone this week?
I did. It was funny because I hopped on. I am continuing on my camo grind. So I have one. I thought I was done with the King's. No, not King's Ransom. With Golden Tiger. Which, to get Golden Tiger, you have to pull the most wanted, and then you have to get 5 kills as the most wanted, which wasn't a huge deal, really. Until they got rid of Most Wanted. And now
like we talked about last week. So.
It's painful. And I mean, you can do it in Plunder, and it's hit and miss, and whether or not you'll either A, find people, or B, you'll get set upon by a squad of 4, and you're just like, holy shit, stop it. But I played a little bit with a friend of the pod, Crossbow Mike. Played some with him. He was having a good time. His lobbies are sweaty as hell, though. They're very sweaty. But we had fun with that. Actually had fun. Me and 2 buddies just sitting on top of that apartment building that kind of is a little bit east of the swimming pool, and just sitting up there and just sniping everybody.
That's what Lizard calls cringe. He's like, that's, like when he's like, they're on cringe. It's nice. Like usually that when it's like a team of fucking neckbeards just sitting up there with like a sniper rifles. Yeah.
Yep. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I was regularly, there was a team sitting on top of Superstore, and I was just dropping them left and right. And it was like, we had copious amounts of airstrikes. So we had to put a buy station up there. So we're just dropping bodies and then hit them with airstrikes afterwards. It was fun.
I've been playing, I've played a lot of solos, and then I've played a little bit of duos with Drade. And then we, like I was telling you, we tried to play ranked the other day, and that just didn't go well for one reason or another. So, I'll tell you, ranked for us has been sweaty as shit, which, I mean, it's supposed to be, but dude, we're consistently running into, several crims, several Eries, and even top 250s in our lobbies. Like we're not getting, and they're only diamond. Like King and Drade are only diamond. I'm plat
but
too.
You crack that diamond level, and it's floodgates are open. Like
but I mean it got to be a lot, and so Drade tried to run an alt account that he has that was bronze, and the lobbies were a little easier. We ran one match, and I got like 141 SR out of it or whatever. But
positive is positive.
Yeah, and he was just doing that just to try to get me over the hump, right? I mean, and I told you this has been the worst ranked season I've had, right? Like it by far. I have not played well at all. If I'm being completely honest, and so he's trying to drag me up over the hump, but apparently that's where I don't know. We're probably not gonna run with the alts again. Or I don't know, maybe we will. I don't know. I might just say fuck it and do it.
Get yourself up there. But
yeah, I mean, I've been diamond before. It's not like I haven't been diamond before,
Yeah. Yeah, and then I had, it's funny because, right now we're going to be, I have been very critical of Call of Duty, and I'm going to continue being so until they change course, which probably will be sometime for Modern Warfare 4 at this rate. But I did hop in with a buddy of mine, IRL buddy, and then a guy from my group KLG hopped in, and we ran a game of Resurgence, just straight up, ran some Resurgence that night. And look, here's the thing: when Call of Duty is doing well, it's a lot of fun. I won't argue that. Like when they are doing things well, when things are running well, you're not running into cheaters, the game is stable. It's a lot of fun. And I think anybody who plays enough will run into those nights where you just have a good time. And so we ran some games. I was doing well. We were getting doing well in the match. And we had one. We didn't get a fourth. We were running quads, and the three of us played the map really well. Had a very rough start. Ran into a very highly skilled team that we were all kind of questioning, but I think they were fine. And then we were able to regain on another part of the map. And as the circles moved, we just ended up in a good spot. We ended up, it was a weird circle pull down to Harbor, and then it was a pull back to that unnamed building with a little room at the top. I forget how to describe that. But it was like a weird pool in that area. And so for me, I was last one alive, jumped in to the buy station right there by Harbor. And there's literally a guy there buying stuff at the buy station. And I just land right next to him, buy my guy's back immediately. And then him and I trade shots, and then his team just jumps out and devours me. But I got them both back. They land on the roof of the unknown building, fend off a couple of other buybacks. And then there were one guy takes out two guys on the team, the biggest team that was left, and then he dies to gas. And so now it's 2-on-1. And so it's like they played the circle really well. We got the win, and it was a great game. It felt like a really good game, even especially since it started out so poorly. And so we just had a good match. And then of course SBMM showed up, and just the next game was so miserable. Everybody quit and went to bed. And so I think it's one of those things that is worth just keeping in mind, that when Call of Duty does really well, it's a really fun game. It's fun to play the game. It really is. And then they shoot themselves in the foot by deciding to meddle with the matchmaking some more.
They do it to themselves every time. I mean, we go through this every year, dude. It's fucking exhausting to have to go through the same cycle, wash, rinse, and repeat, literally every single year. And honestly, it's unnecessary. And what I will say is aside from the rank play, like when I've played pubs, that's been fun. I've had fun on that, and I have not really struggled in those matches. They've been fun, but ranked has been an absolute struggle this year. But just the overall state of the game and like my level of actually caring about the game used to be this. It is now this. I am now at a point in my life where I'm not going to hinge my happiness or my mood on this game anymore. Like, I refuse to do it because it's just not worth it. I have other priorities, other things that are more important to me anyway. So like whenever I've felt like just getting offline, I just fucking get off and kill stream. I'm not I'm playing literally half or less than what I was playing before.
Oh, yeah. I think last week I logged 6 hours, which might be one of the lowest number of hours logged on Call of Duty in years, probably since 2019 dropped.
I had 17 hours last week, which seems like a lot to some people, but for me, that's a fraction of what it was in April.
Yeah. I used to average 20 hours a week. Easy 20 hours a week. So
I had 179 hours on the game between April 3rd and May 3rd, if that puts it into perspective for you.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I mean, we're recovering addicts. What can I say? But season, not to fear, season 5 is around the corner next week, or this week, I guess. And the roadmap and overview are out. So it's quite the contrast, right? Because we're going to have season 5, August 7th. August 7th is also the Battlefield open beta start for the select few who have early access. Otherwise, it's like the 9th or something.
Got my email.
Very good. So it's an interesting roadmap. So like multiplayer gets some maps. Curious to see how they run. We'll see. WMD jackpot. There's aim high is a new LTM mode.
Jesus, if it's some kind of spinoff on weed again, oh my God.
It is headshots land instant limbs while full body armor minimizes damage dealt anywhere below the neck. So shoot for the head.
Dude, the LTM, my all-time favorite LTM for any Call of Duty, for Warzone or for the BR was in Blackout, there was a shotgun and snipers only. That mode was so fucking fun, and I played the shit out of it. That's how I learned how to snipe in Call of Duty, or at least in a BR.
Well, they have a snipers only mode, which is snipers only
for multi, right?
Multi, yeah. And then cranked mosh pit. So, some new stuff, kind of fun. I'm sure it'll be fun. I'm not really playing multi much anymore. So, but the, let's see here, crank mosh. So, so new modes, new stuff. Ranked play is back. I have to say this year, the ranked play rewards have been subprime. They're just not, they're okay. Like camos in, say they got ranked camos this year for your guns, which again, how are we just now starting to get camos in the game? Just now.
This has been the weirdest. It's followed the traditional or typical COD cycle, but it's been the weirdest one, I think, in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Would you agree? It's some of the things they're doing and not doing just make no fucking sense.
I went back and I looked at the hype and how happy we both were with BO6 when it dropped, launch window.
Mm-hmm.
We had nothing terrible to say about it. There was room for improvement, but everything felt like they were going in the right direction. It felt like they'd learned their lesson during MW3. They were going to really work on improving the game and continue on, even though they were making some changes. And then they just didn't. They just put it in coast and are drifting with the wind. It feels like
it's almost
all their effort into it, and
it's like that map switch that they did. That you've talked about. It's almost like that basically just killed everything. Like going to Verdansk instead of Avalon, it's like that legitimately just torpedoed the whole rest of the content drip. And when they are releasing content, it's crazy shit. All these weird ass skins and stuff you see in the store. Those are weird. Did you see they're doing the 90s action hero thing again?
No.
Yeah. Unless I read that wrong.
90s action. I didn't see anything about that, but maybe I missed it. But it's here's the thing. Call of Duty is I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Call of Duty has been at its best when they have a very strong sense of being grounded, right? Like when the skins, when the bundles, when everything matches the motif to some degree, and there's some degree of movement in that statement, but it's like it makes sense, right? Stuff makes sense. And whether it matches a story or whatever, it's like there's some grounded in realism aspect to it, right? And you look back at how Verdansk went the first time, right? I mean, it was, Cold War with the numbers was a little weird, but for the most part, like the first year of Verdansk, it was like, how did Stadium open? Well, they bombed it with a missile, right?
Yeah.
Cool. That makes sense. How do they deal with it? And then you get into like the zombies, and Call of Duty has had zombies for years, but it's like it was some chemical thing, right? Like there was something that there was some reason for there to be zombies. They came on a boat. They didn't just like pop out of nowhere.
Yeah, I remember that boat crashed over by prison.
Mm-hmm. And it was loud as fuck, but it was like that whole cinematic was so loud when it came out. But it was like the whole process to get it there. Like they worked that in, right? How are they opening Stadium this season? The laser from space, a big red laser from space. Like, God, come on. And it's like, they're just so all over the place. They're all over the place. And there's no consistency. And I get that they made changes, but at the same time, it's like if you make changes, just drop the stuff that doesn't fit, because now all the cinematics are all Avalon. There is no Avalon, right? They cut that part. They're not tying it into anything. So just let Verdansk be Verdansk, and then figure out a story, next year if you need to, or save everything for next year and just have none of this nonsense.
Or just leave it for the multiplayer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't tie it into Warzone at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, it does fit with the multiplayer, like the new maps and stuff like that, but it doesn't fit with Warzone. But it's like, I don't know, man. I will give Infinity Ward credit. At least their skins were grounded in reality, like you were talking about. Like, not all this crazy shit.
Even Messi made sense.
And normally I don't care about that kind of stuff, but there comes a point where it's like, all right, dude, this is just a bit much, right? Like, it's like, come on, dude. Like I went into the store the other day and I'm like, I would not buy any of this. None of it.
You look at the weapons they're coming out with. It's like, all right, we have another LMG.
That ABR is a burst rifle, by the way.
Yeah, you have a burst rifle, which, probably good for multi, probably shit for Warzone.
That's from Blackout, like Black Ops 4 and Blackout.
Yeah, it looks like it's like modeled after the AUG.
Yeah, it is.
And then you have boxing gloves. Like, really? Boxing gloves is our melee that we get? Like, can we stop? And it's just like it's just goofy. It's just goofy. And then they have and then they're bringing the revolver, the Gravemark 357 revolver at the mid-season update. Which
if that has fucking snake shots in akimbo, that's going to be broken as shit. We already all know it.
And we know it will, and it will last longer than it should.
I mean, it ain't going to matter if fucking Battlefield's good. I won't be playing that shit anyway.
I mean, you can definitely akimbo it. I don't know if it'll have snake shot or not. Actually, probably not, because ammo type, akimbo will take up the ammo type. So they won't give you snake shots. Like, you won't be able to do both.
Good.
If they have it. So I think
that's a good point.
So I think we're a little safe from that. It's still going to be broken as shit. Put some lasers on it, hip fire lasers.
Yeah.
And then there's some attachments for the PPSH and the 9mm. 90s action. Okay, yeah, here we go. 90s action heroes. They're not telling us too much about it.
Now, I will say this. If it's Martin Riggs and Sergeant Murtaugh, take my fucking money. Just take it. I'll buy it. I just don't know why they got to keep recycling shit. Like, they already did 90s action heroes. Do something else.
Wasn't it 80s action heroes?
Maybe it was 80s. Yeah, it was 80s.
They're still recycling it.
Yeah, because John McClane crossed over, actually, 3 decades.
He'll be back.
The 80s, 90s,
sell us
and
back
the
the same
2000s.
skin we got before.
Yeah.
So, and then it's like the operators are just, I mean, they're a little more grounded now, but you've got some guy with like Viking horns on his helmet, and they've got the new rose skin that still doesn't rose skin things like they used to with the guy with
I know
the
what
hook.
you did last summer.
Yeah.
Guy. Yeah.
But it's like they're just all over the place. They're all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't.
So they did split off. So interesting thing they did is they split off MW2 and MW3 from the COD HQ. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I knew they were doing it, but I mean, like, what is that? Excuse me. What does that mean for us, really?
Well, it means they're not supporting those anymore. Like, those titles are done. They're capped. So, they did that with let's see, Sledgehammer announced one more update with the rollout, and so I think MW3 is done for. It's a interesting. I think it's proof that a lot of people don't understand how game stuff works, because everyone's like, "Oh, COD HQ is dead." No, they're just emptying it out.
Yeah, because we have a new title that's coming out in 4 months.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, but I think it's probably just from a space saving standpoint, it's probably good. But I don't think it changes much of anything. And let's see here. Yeah, you can download the base game of MW2, I think. And that'll give you access to DMZ, which is free to play. I think it's free to play.
I don't know.
And then everything else, if you pay for it, you get it. But they did add trophies for MW3 now. So I know you're not a trophy chaser, but for people that do, one complaint of the COD HQ system is that you can only 100% a game once. So for PlayStation players, it gives you you get a completionist trophy for doing 100% on a game, which means that because these games are all together under COD HQ, you can only get it once. So if you completionist MW2, then there's no additional completionist for MW3 or Black Ops 6. And so now they're adding that, if you care.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, honestly, with what else we're going to be talking about today, I'm more interested in that, actually. So yeah, I don't really care.
So, and there's a Mr. Peaks LED neon sign in the store. You can buy that.
What?
In the physical store. They'll mail it to your house, and you can put it up in your bedroom. Right?
I'm good. I'm good. I am good.
If I cared about zombies, I'd probably care a bit more. I'd be more interested, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I would actually if they had the Burger Town sign that they gave away in the Verdansk run up. I'd
I mean,
buy
that might be cool.
I'd put that up right. I'd put it up right there. I'd move those games, and it would sit right.
You didn't even install the sign I sent you, did you?
I have it ready to go. I just have to get it framed. So otherwise, I'm just thumbtacking it to the wall.
It's a sign.
There's a poster.
Was it a... No, I sent you a light, bro.
Sign. Yeah, it's over here. It's right here. You can't see it on camera.
Oh, so you did do it. All right.
Yeah, I have that up.
Good for you. I'm proud of you.
Good for me.
Speaking of that kind of stuff, like I have this whole space right here to my right that's like where the closet was, that is just empty right now. Like I've got my old PC in on the floor and everything in it, but like I want to put like a cabinet in here and maybe get some other posters and lights for that part of the room or whatever.
Yeah, no, I've got a good wall space, and so I've got a lot of stuff on it. It's pretty crowded right now. I might need to move some stuff around. I don't know. These dogs might get moved one of these days coming up. But yeah, no, it's going well. With Call of Duty doing what Call of Duty does. And look, this is the thing. You know, we've said it before. You just mentioned it. They can't get out of their own way right now. I don't know what it is. I don't know why they can't figure out how to deliver reliably. It's so frustrating to have, you know, especially like you and I and, you know, some of the guys in chat, like we have sunk so much time into this game. So much time. And we're not getting like our like we're not getting what we want to play. Like we're not getting it from them at the end of the day. And here's the thing. And we're gonna jump into another game here in a minute. But multiplayer games, generally speaking, are good for like 3-4 months of play. For most people. Like the hardcore fans will always stick around. But for most people, they play 3-4 months, they get their enjoyment out of it, and they move on. And that's how it's been for years. And that's how it, you know, that's honestly how multiplayer has become in Call of Duty, right? You hop in, you play a couple months, and then Warzone integrates, and that's where the fun is, because Warzone is much more dynamic. You know, Battle Royale is a much more dynamic and less repetitive experience for the majority of players. Like top 0.5%, you probably win at a ridiculous rate because you just play it like a machine and you're better than most people that you will run into. And therefore it will feel repetitive. And honestly, and I say those with all love and respect, nobody cares, because your experience is so unusual for the majority of players. The majority of players are bad at video games. It just is the fact. And so as a result, winning is rarer and more celebrated. The experience that you get playing the game is much more, you know, in a battle royale is a lot more open-ended. It's a lot more random. You don't always have the same experience unless you are really bad, in which case you land and then you die, and then you lose your gulag and you spectate your teammates. That is also a thing.
Sounds like my ranked experience lately.
But you know, when you get into it, that's, I think, what keeps players playing, is that experience, that game loop of enjoying the game. Call of Duty has not hit this year with that. They really haven't. Last year, they had too much resurgence in the game, and so they didn't hit well either. Now, we have Battlefield 6 coming up. And Battlefield is a completely different game at the multiplayer level than Call of Duty, right? Mm-hmm. It is more comparable to Invasion or Ground War than to the 6v6 multiplayer experience. And some people like that. Some people don't care. They find it enjoyable one way or the other, and some people absolutely don't like it. So, you know, I want to preface all of our future conversation on Battlefield with understanding what hit my mic. With understanding what it means to be like, you know, oh, Battlefield's going to, like, you know, everyone says, oh, it's going to kill COD. Nothing's going to kill COD. COD can only kill COD, and they're really trying right now. But you know, when you look at the numbers, and we've seen numbers repeatedly, and they're very consistent, COD has an install base, like a dedicated install base of like 15-20 million people that will play COD no matter what.
That's us.
A lot of them own a PlayStation just to play Call of Duty. It is the only reason they own the console in the first place. Battlefield's not going to take those players. They're not. They're not going to touch that number. Like, Call of Duty will continue to survive and do well because it has a dedicated player base that's all they want to play. All right. However, there's another 20 million players that will show up at the start of COD, and they'll show up for big things, and they don't stick around. Those players are up for grabs, right? those are casual players that play a variety of games, most likely, or they play for a little bit and then they move on. And we've seen this in launch numbers in Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 6, where they launch with 38 million players. And then those players kind of move on within the first 3 months. They're off doing something else. Those players will go where it's fun. And those players are, I think, up for grabs, especially with Battlefield having a BR coming, because BR is a big draw for reasons I just talked about. And so if Battlefield lands and does and performs as well as the reveal performed, they're going to be competing over that. Battlefield has its own and Battlefield has its own install base. It's smaller than COD's. I think it's about 15 million, give or take.
It's a more dedicated.
Hasn't been the last few years outings because Battlefield has sucked. But Battlefield 1 sold 15 million copies in its opening weekend or opening period, right? In the launch period. So, there's a player base. There's a strong player base there. If Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Black Ops 7, and Battlefield 6 are launching in the same window, opposite ends of the same month, and Battlefield will be there first. If Battlefield lands and is successful, so in other words, if this week's playtest goes, beta goes really well, and we start getting info on the BR, and they alluded to online that the BR will be going into test soon. The multiplayers head to head, Battlefield stands a chance to take a lot of the casual players, and COD will launch similar to MW3, which is they're going to launch with their install base and they're not going to collect a lot of the casuals. And that happened in MW3. MW3 had a very weak launch. It had a very strong year of content and support where they gained players over that initial 3-month period, which is very unusual. But Battlefield could put COD in that position again, where they're just playing to their base. They're launching to their base and they're not drawing the casual, like the low. And I'm not talking about casual like player skill. I'm talking about like your commitment to the game, like the people who will play the game for a few months and then move on.
But they tried to do that with 2042, and that's why that game was fucking terrible, and everyone hated it.
And 2042 was, and it launched poorly. It did not technically perform at launch, right? So you couldn't
even get your loadout.
Yeah, they didn't have a scoreboard, right? Like they 2042 was everything not to do in a launch, right? How to tank a franchise in one game.
Yeah, you don't do a game an online game where there is a winner and loser and then not give a scoreboard. But Battlefield did that. Modern Warfare 2 or Warzone 2 did that. Remember, they weren't tracking stats for a long time. Like
Warzone 2 was like they just forgot to turn on stat tracking or something. I don't know what they did.
Whoever made that decision or recommendation for both of those franchises legitimately needs to be beaten with a rubber hose. Like, that's the dumbest shit ever. Like, I want to see the statistics. Like,
look, you beat them with a rubber hose because the rubber hose doesn't leave marks. You need to beat them with a stick because everyone should know that they were beaten for their poor choices.
Or they should be tarred and feathered, like in the 1700s,
We say that in jest for the legal teams out there, in jest. But yeah, so Battlefield this time around, and I have been released from my NDAs so I can discuss this stuff at length. Battlefield is going to drop on, gameplay wise, is landing on all cylinders. Like, I played pre-alpha and alpha stuff all the way up until mid-July. And aside from expected technical issues such as servers that aren't set up configured properly because they're test servers, or things like textures that aren't loaded in, right? Like they would have they would have textures that they just aren't including in the build. So you'd have like these pink, outlines instead of like actual objects, stuff like that. The game played really well, like in that state. Like it looked good. It played really good. And from someone who's been on, hasn't touched, I haven't played Battlefield since Battlefield 1. It was the last time I bought Battlefield. And I've hopped in. EA had their EA Pass or whatever for a long time, so I've played most of them off and on, over the few years since. But like the last time I bought the game and actually played it from launch was BF1, which was actually a great game. I really enjoyed that game as well. But they just haven't hit. Battlefield 5 was mid. Battlefield 2042 was a catastrophe. And so I haven't bothered with the franchise. And so hopping back in, aside from the fact that I don't remember how to fly the vehicles and I just die when I try and fly something, the gameplay felt polished in a way that COD still doesn't feel polished. COD still feels like stuff is bolted on, like movement is bolted on to the game, right? And with Battlefield, like there was a fluidness to it, right? It wasn't perfect. It's a beta. Or it wasn't even beta, it was before beta. But like just, shooting your gun felt good. The guns felt solid. Being able to move while you just transition from moving to shooting and back again and sliding and jumping and all of those things and being able to climb up on stuff. It felt better in a way that COD hasn't felt in a long time. Certainly not Warzone. And the ability to move, like the way Omni movement works right now is especially in Warzone. Omni movement has felt good in multiplayer for a while, but in Warzone, it has a clunkiness to it, right? And it conflicts and you conflict with different things you're doing. Like, when you want to go prone, it remains an issue where if you try to go prone quickly, you slide or you dive or you omni movement yourself off a building routinely still. And things like that, where it's like, the control over your movement remains, a little bit hit and miss. Dead slides continue to be a problem. Like the number of times I've tried to slide around a corner or slide in a cover, I just like stop moving in the middle of nowhere and die. Too high. And the tac sprint system is still arguably frustrating to deal with. And there's just a lot. There's a lot of that little ticky-tack details that weren't a problem in Battlefield. Battlefield understood what it wanted its movement to be, and they just went for it. And they don't have different systems fighting each other. They don't have, a movement system bolted on to a sprint, to a sprinting system. And they don't have, there's no conflicting movement aspects, right? If you want to slide, you slide. If you want to lay down, you lay down. For COD fans, I'll say this. It's a slower experience overall. Your base movement speed was slow. And this may change. My experience may change with the beta. We'll know later this week. But the overall movement speed was slower. There was no tactical sprint. You either ran, you walked, or you sprinted. So for traditional 6v6 players, I don't know how much your classic COD 6v6 player is going to love Battlefield. If you don't like ground war, you probably won't love Battlefield. And I think that's totally fine. I don't think it has to be the game for everyone. And I think they're not trying to be the game for everyone. They're trying to be the Battlefield for Battlefield fans.
That's what they should be.
And so there will be people who don't want that experience. And that's, I think, great. And how do I put it? The destructibility, the environments are all, very Battlefield, right? Walls will just disintegrate around you. Which actually was kind of neat because it opened up different ways to play, right? So like, There was one building on a map I remember where it was like I like sniping in that game. I really enjoy the sniping.
It's harder to snipe in that game compared to Call of Duty.
Much more difficult to snipe versus Call of Duty. But there was an apartment building, and one wall of the apartment building overlooked one of the flags, and so I just went in and chucked a grenade or a C4 or whatever into the building, and I blew the wall out. And then it gave me like a perfect spot to sit there and just pick off people trying to cap the flag. And so, I was that person just absolutely defending the flag the whole time. I think I led the team in defense by like a significant margin because I just sat there picking people off. They would, you'd see the little guy go to the flag, to where the capture point was. And they'd set up and most of the force was coming from the left side and then their spawn was on the right side. So they'd run in there and then I'd shoot them and they'd die. And, and I mean, the biggest problem was I kept running out of ammo and had to go, replenish that, which overall it was fun. It was a good experience. Sniping is much more difficult. The weapons in general are much more difficult to use than Call of Duty. They have actual recoil. They don't have as much chatter that's not relative to recoil, right? So they're a little more easier to control. And I feel like and it depends on the test, right? Like different tests were doing different things. So sometimes they were testing stability. Like I played a lot of the stability tests. So a lot of the features, they were more feature complete versus earlier tests, which were examining specific features or trying to test for certain things. So different people, it's funny because different people especially people who only played one or two play tests will have had more limited experience with all of that stuff. So it's interesting from that point of view to hear people's insights on that we're testing it. But yeah, the last couple of tests that I played, the game felt good. I mean, there are always going to be problems in a test build, so I overlook a lot. Like the shooting range for me was always bugged. I just would see black walls, like everything was blacked out, and I could only see my character, like the gun model I was holding. I didn't spend a lot of time customizing. I wanted to be out there shooting, but they have an interesting attachment system where it's points based.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like every different attachments are worth more points.
Cool.
And so, you build your loadout by points. So you could build your loadout all around one gun being phenomenal and your other gun being a base weapon. And you have points for it. And so that was it. I think that was a good balance. A lot more pros and cons. I didn't spend a lot of time customizing though. So, I know other people did, and they said that stuff is really impactful, and I think we'll spend some more time on it this week.
How are the vehicles?
Fine, I guess. I only, again, I didn't spend a lot of time driving. Like I tried to fly one thing and I crashed it immediately, but that's because I'm bad at flying battlefield helicopters.
I wonder if they're going to have a test range for that, because Battlefield 4 had a test range. That's how I learned how to do it.
Maybe. I don't know.
For the vehicles, I hope they do.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they put in the beta. All told, but the other thing I'll talk about is aim assist. Aim assist in Battlefield is different. It's still there, right? But it doesn't have that same magnetism. Is the word I like to call it, where your reticle just sticks to somebody. No matter what, like it's fighting to stay stuck to a target.
Mm-hmm.
When you're on target and you're shooting, like if you're controlling recoil, like it'll kind of hang in there, and it's easier to stay with them. But if you're not great at recoil, like the aim assist isn't helping. Like with Call of Duty, the aim assist helps a little bit. Like if you're struggling on your recoil, it'll help pull it back a little bit more so than no aim assist does. Like no aim assist will just go all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll Call of Duty does those like micro corrections, right? So it's part of pulling on the target, like when the target is moving, and you're shooting, it's like it's pulling the muzzle back a little bit. I didn't feel that in the builds that I played. And so if I, so for example, I had an M4, I took an M4 out, and I just grabbed one. I didn't put any effort into it, and it was a terrible build. And I couldn't stay on target with that thing to save my life. There was no help whatsoever from aim assist. And I was able to, I actually built out an LMG, which was much more forgiving and much easier to control. And I was able to stay on target better, but targets were able to break the aim assist and get away. And I was able to do that as well, where somebody would start hitting me. Like, with Call of Duty, when somebody gets on you and they're beaming you, it's very hard to break away. It's very hard without going behind cover to break that aim assist hold on you, right? When someone is tracking you properly, like letting the aim assist help track you, breaking away from that and breaking that line is very difficult, and keeping them from recovering is very difficult, right? So even if you are able to break that hold for a split second, the odds that they will get back on target on you, if they're of any skill whatsoever, is pretty high, right? So like if you get caught in the flat, you're in trouble. With Battlefield, it felt much easier to loosen it. So I think, from my point of view, survivability became much more impactful. It became easier to survive a gunfight, like getting surprised or a losing gunfight in Battlefield than it ever feels in Call of Duty. And a lot of that, I think, is a combination of the weapons are more difficult to manage, and also the aim assist isn't as strong. Like, it's still there. You notice it. It's noticeable when you're looking for it, but it feels more natural to it. And so COD players that are coming over at the beginning are going to struggle a bit more to get kills. I think because of this, because they're not used to controlling stronger recoil, and they're not used to dealing with aim assist that isn't as strong. And I had my aim assist cranked to the max, right? I was playing on the Xbox Series S was my device that I was locked to. So it was an interesting, it was a more interesting experience. But if I'm like, there were multiple times where I would be in a building, like sniping or otherwise shooting down on the flag of the position, and somebody would start shooting me, and I would just, without getting off the roof or out of the building, I could move laterally and they would stop hitting me, and then I could recover. Like I could go prone, or I could get out of the way. Versus with Call of Duty, if you're standing on a ledge and someone's shooting you and you just move laterally, they follow you, right? Like their aim assist typically follows you close enough that you still take hits. You don't break that aim assist. So from that perspective, I think at the end of the day, COD players will initially perform less well. They'll feel like they perform less well, but they'll also have a higher survivability. So even though the time to kill is much higher, the number of engagements you get away from will go up dramatically versus Call of Duty, where it's like if you get caught in the flat, you're toast, and there's no hope for you. So I think the combination of those two things will ultimately lower your total kills for a while, and people will, as they get used to weapons and get used to the recoil, that will go up, but their ability to survive gunfights will actually move in relation to that. And so I think more people will survive more gunfights at the end of the day than they lose. And that's ultimately probably going to provide a better experience because you stay alive longer. You just, you get away, you get hurt, you get behind cover, you get healed up, and you get back in it. So I think at the end of the day, a lot of people will have an enjoyable time playing the game. Coming from Call of Duty, it will be an adjustment, though.
I'm looking forward to it. Like I've told you before, I had like 1,900 hours in Battlefield 4. That was my favorite Battlefield that I ever played. And rumor has it this one is going to be more in line with that in Battlefield 3. So I'm excited. I hear they're bringing the portal over, which was something that they did do for 2042. I saw the weapon list, like it, or at least a partial list, and looks like there's going to be some fun weapons to run there and everything. And I mean, the one thing that I like about Battlefield that Call of Duty just can't ever seem to do is variety. Like there's variety in the game. There's not variety in Call of Duty. Everyone's having to run the same shit, so I'm looking forward to the weapon balancing over there and just being able to run what I want to run and those kind of things. I'm excited about that.
I think it's in, like, I'm trying to find the list of stuff they're doing for the BR, but I think they did an interesting thing with the weapons. So they feel very like there's definitely a long range and a close range, and like long range, close range, and mid range, right? Where long range snipers and LMGs are great. When I carried an LMG, it felt like running in the mud. Like it was already slower coming from Call of Duty, but it was also really satisfying to use, like at longer range. But at close range, like or more like a medium range, like we played a couple of medium of like the Conquest and like the more COD style maps in game modes, like Domination, I guess is the mode, right, where it's like you capture the three
large
capture
scale
points
Conquest,
a smaller scale, like so it was more of a mid-size or larger COD map size. It wasn't like the big battle map. There were no vehicles, and so it was definitely a head-to-head COD experience. And in the smaller map, the LMG, I just got outmaneuvered a lot, right? On the big map, I could sit farther back with a heavier gun and be more be productive with it. On the smaller map, it was more difficult. Like enemies could find cover faster. They got on top of me faster. And up close, they were running, they could move faster, and then I could turn a track with them and move with the LMG. So it wasn't like, Call of Duty, where it's like you'll have an LMG that has, a weapon with all the power of an LMG, right? Like the 100-round XM4, right? Where you have all the power of the LMG and then you have all the mobility of an AR. It didn't feel that way at all. Like, so, I had to switch to, a more traditional weapon, and then up close, like, if you're good luck, if you're bringing an LMG into a closer range fight, you're just going to die.
Well, that's as it should be. Like, that's the great thing about what they do with their weapons. Like, there's penalties for things, right? Like, I like that, and weapons do what they're supposed to do, and that, I think that's a big part of why the variety is going to be so much. It's going to be refreshing,
Yeah.
And also too, the other benefit to Battlefield is it's not a yearly title. So
yeah,
I think that the content drip will be probably pretty good. I think that because it's not a yearly title, I think that their BR is probably going to function better than Warzone.
I think the BR, again, first of all, this is EA. It's the other side of gaming from Activision, right? Like, you flip a coin of who's going to fuck up first, EA or Activision, and it's like the coin lands on edge more often than not, and they both fuck it up. So I don't want to just glaze Battlefield right now and be like, and not hedge my bet saying EA can still fuck this up. I think that needs to be said. That being said, EA seems to have learned its lesson from 2042 and is more or less staying out of DICE's way, and letting them cook. So I am going to suggest that if the game launches really well, which, I mean, I guess we'll find out. Like, at the reveal, it seemed to work pretty well. There were some issues that I know people raised, like the shotguns were overpowered. There were issues with sliding movement. deliberate or like intentional or not, nobody knows. But there were also issues with there was some other thing that was an issue with, and EA's already come out. You know, the Battlefield people have come out and said they're addressing those. So they're, you know, unlike MW2, where they said, yeah, we don't care what you think, we're not putting red dots in the minimap, which, I mean, we know my position on that. I don't care ultimately, but to be straight up to the community, you all are asking for something and we say, screw you. That doesn't seem to be the attitude, the prevailing attitude we're seeing. And I will say that was an attitude that EA gave players for 2042, right? For 2042, players were told, we're doing what we're doing, right?
Well,
this is what we're doing, and you can get on board or get out. And people got out.
Brought in, I think the guy's name is Vince Zampella. And he's running the show, and he's a former COD guy, and he was a big deal for Call of Duty, and they brought him over, and you know, he's I think the things that he was saying early on was this is going to be a traditional Battlefield experience, you know what I mean? And and to be able to do that, though, that requires a certain amount of listening to the community.
And, you know, I give them the credit they deserve. They're doing that, right? So all indications are they are doing that right now. Locking weapons to classes. And I will say that is one thing in the labs that didn't make sense to me, that you had classes, but you could use whatever weapon you wanted. And that to me, I mean, fine. It's like, okay, I'll use recon with this whatever, like, you know, I was using what I wanted, but knowing that I could have, you know, that you could mix and match, you know, because it's always been like recon was your sniper class, right? Mm-hmm. And then assault was your was your AR, and then support was the LMG class, right? And they had different, you know, not abilities, but they had different like equipment that they could use, and so, you know, being able to snipe and repair vehicles together seemed like a weird combination that you could do. Right?
It would make things like OP.
And so that was a thing. So they're addressing that, you know, and we'll see what they land on. It sounds like they're going to go back towards locking weapons to classes.
I hope they do.
Which is good. Again, and they're not doing the hero, like they're not doing the hero abilities, right? They did that in 2042. And again, that's one of the things that to me makes the game less interesting. X-Defiant did that, and it just, like, to me, I don't love it. I think it's obnoxious that I have to. It's obnoxious that if I want to play with the weapon I want to play with, I have to pick from a certain class and play with, you know, that list of character models that they have, because they don't always like line up in a way that, you know, it's like that I want to play. However, I get, you know, for Battlefield, it makes sense, and I get it, and it is what it is. But when you have like the abilities where it's like, all right, here's some overpowered ability, now I have to think about, all right, what is my team running ability wise? Like, how do I complement that? And then I have to change my playstyle to match that, like to fit in properly. Like that, to me, it's, you know, Marvel Rivals does that. And it makes me have no interest in playing the game whatsoever, because I don't want to have to deal with that. I want to shoot my gun. I want to run around and shoot my gun at the enemy, preferably. And I want to, you know, I want to play how I want to play. And it's like, you know, and Battlefield's very team objective based, right? So, you know, it doesn't matter as much if you have the highest kill in the game. If you're the one capping the objectives, then you're going to win. And they do emphasize that. But
yeah, teamwork is a big thing for Battlefield.
Yeah. But I mean, for me, it's like, look, when I play Battlefield, I love sniping on it. I love sitting back and like covering the flag and just being that guy that doesn't let the enemy capture anything, right? Like that to me is a fun role to have, or you know, to disrupt their, you know, their lines of attack and be just kind of a pain in the ass, right? Versus just chasing kills, right? I play a little asymmetrical Battlefield, which is, you know, fun for me, and it tends to help the team out pretty well, and that sort of thing. When you was very approachable and very doable in MW or in the test that I did. And so I hope they stick with that and they focus on making that sort of like, you have your class, you have your role, and there's some flexibility in that, but it's not like, it doesn't like it's COD where, you could be whatever you want. Right. I think that's a difference in Battlefield. And I think it works, it works for Battlefield. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think, I think if they hit, it could be good for the genre, because also too, don't forget, Ghost Recon's coming out with a title here pretty soon. So, hopefully, maybe we could get back to where we have multiple options to play, and then the little things that we get annoyed with, whatever game it is, whether it's Warzone or Battlefield or whatever, then those things are not magnified as much, right? Like,
right.
Because people have different options to play. And, I always liked Battlefield because also too, I never really felt like, because you could pick your servers that you go into. So there wasn't the algorithmic bullshit that you have to deal with, because you have a good match, you get fucked over for the next 2 hours. Like I hope they stick with that, and I hope you're able to rent servers like you used to be able to, and then server browse, and you could pick a region, and you can all your friends could join in the same server, and you guys run your units, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
a lot.
So Battlefield BR, we don't have a ton of details yet, but we have had leaks specifically data mining the content that's already in the Battlefield Labs download. So they're doing a really interesting mashup of different BRs from what I've seen. And I think it's interesting. So I don't know if you've followed any of these leaks or if you're hearing these for the first time, but interested in your feedback on these. So they'll have missions just like contracts.
Okay.
So you'll have priority missions. Keep an eye out for priority missions, high reward opportunities that present themselves as the situation on the ground unfolds. So contracts, but you can counter missions.
So somebody else can steal them.
So when a nearby enemy squad starts a mission, you may be given the chance to stop them and steal their rewards. So they found alerts.
That's kind of cool.
Another team is countering your squad's marked mission. They will try and eliminate someone. Watch out. Another team is countering your squad's high-value assets mission. They'll try and calibrate your beacons. So I figure that's
cool.
Yeah. So they'll have counters. So that'll be interesting. I find that fascinating because, you can pool, especially if they take the rewards. So like right now, in Warzone, right? If you're just running around the map, you yank a bounty, right? If you're, just to have a bounty, because that gives you intel, right? Even if you don't chase the bounty, you pull the bounty contract, and now you know where somebody is, and probably a squad is on the map. And so it's a good way to know, to at the very least have an understanding, have some intel on what's going on, right? And so it's always good to kind of have that bounty on the map, right? You see one, you pull one, and now you know what's going on. If someone can not just steal that contract from you, it's not just poaching the bounty where you get paid. Like if they take your rewards and you get nothing for it, that's a bit of an incentive to maybe focus on actually completing your objective because you don't get any passive rewards. So I kind of like that. I think it's an interesting.
Yeah. I think it'll be cool.
And then, so they have combat vehicles. So what I've heard from this is that things like tanks and stuff are in the game. And what'll happen is you do a mission or you do something to obtain a key card to unlock access to like a tank, for example. And then, and then you get a tank in the BR, which on it, will have limited ammo and limited fuel. So it's not like you can just run the tank around the entire map and just sit in it. But what I've also heard is that they're going to drop anti-tank crates. So they'll like tow missiles or, weapons that can knock the tank out. So you could actually have counterplay to it, because I know that's a big problem, especially in solos, has been for a long time. Solos maps end with 3 Berthas driving in a circle, right? Until they start blowing up. So I think that's good. They'll have custom weapon drops, so you'll be able to do a loadout weapon. And I don't know the details of it specifically, but you'll be able to pull a custom weapon from it. So instead of it being a traditional, and I think instead of it being a loadout in the way that Call of Duty is, where you're collecting perks, weapons, and equipment, it sounds like it's just pulling a gun, which makes sense because you're still loading in with a class, right? So you're still loading in as an assault class or a medic or something like that. And then so there's only one second chance. And so if you die early, I guess you get to drop in again. And then there are redeploy points, kind of like in Fortnite, they have that mobile redeploy van.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're doing that, where you can get where you can go to a specific point and buy people back, which of course will be camped to shit by somebody. So higher risk, higher reward. So it's focus on, you try not to die, right? Unlike Resurgence or whatever. So I think that's a good aspect to it, right? They're kind of balancing that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's let's see here. So there's there's some other little aspects. Obviously scavenger. You pick up weapon, ammo and armor plates from people you've killed. They're doing the Ring of Fire again, right? And so it's going to be it's kind of like what was it? Was it Flash? What did they call it?
Firestorm.
Firestorm. So they're doing the fire ring again instead of gas. But it's instant death. So if you touch the gas, you are done for.
You got to row fast, man. I like it.
And so they say that when you get close to the gas, you'll get warning that you're close to it, right? So it's not like you'll be surprised. You shouldn't be surprised. However, what I've heard is that it doesn't stop moving. So unlike Call of Duty, where you get zones, right? The circle moves and then it stops, and then it moves and then it stops and then it moves. It just moves consistently, and the map will tell you where the circle will be after a certain amount of time instead of in a zone. So it'll be like, all right, in 2 minutes, the circle will be here. And when it gets there, then it tells you where it's going for the next 2 minutes, but it doesn't stop there, which makes the, allegedly, supposedly it's 100 player 25-minute match, which, on a large scale map, we know would be slow because we've seen that in Call of Duty. We saw that with Al Mazrah when they cut it down to 100 players, and Al Mazrah was slow. There just weren't a lot of players out there. So I think that's a good change. If the circle constantly moves, then there's not a lot of camping and slowness. You're always moving. You're always trying to move towards closer to the center, which should keep the mid game busy, right? Because you're not sitting waiting for zone to hold, because zone's always moving. What other cool stuff did they talk about? Oversight system. Basically, if you're dead, you still can, instead of spectating just the players in your squad, you'll have access to cameras, either put out by your teammates or public cameras. And so people can keep an eye on things in some way or another. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but there's a bunch of different ways in which players who are out of the game, who are dead, can still be a part of the game, which I think should create some additional positives. Because I'll say that is one of the things that can be a problem with Verdansk, right? You know, you die, everybody dies early. You know, if you're not successful in your gulag, then it's a lot of just, you just put your controller down and start scrolling TikTok, waiting to be bought back, right? There's nothing you can do during that period. And I think that's one of the things that people don't love about BR is that you can spend a lot of time doing nothing, like with nothing to do, but, you know, look at your phone, because you have to wait for them to be bought back, and then you have to wait for them to find a buy station. And I mean, there have been games in which randos just do not get the opportunity to get bought back by me because, you know, those things don't line up. I either have a buy station, I have no money, or I don't have a buy station when I have money, and I'm not going to like commit suicide to try and, you know, buy back rando who died in the first 2 minutes of the game. So I think that's one of those things where giving somebody who's dead something to do is good. You know, obviously chests to be looted and stuff.
Are we looting for attachments?
They don't specify.
I hope so.
And they did say that it's interesting because you'll loot cars, like the parked cars that you can't drive, but you can loot them. But there's a chance you set off a car alarm.
Yeah.
So you know, kind of, they're focusing a lot on risk reward. It sounds like it seems to me that it's a lot of risk reward, which again, yeah, it's a BR. It should be, everything should have risk and reward. And I think there's a really strong attitude towards, you know, there's been a lot of Call of Duty eras of Warzone where the risk is reduced, right? Less risk, you know, and the rewards don't mirror to that. And so I think I think if they focus on that, you know, again, it can, you know, given what I've played and how what I've seen from the other modes, I mean, there's a strong opportunity, I think, for them to challenge Warzone. And I think Warzone hasn't been challenged in a long time.
Warzone will be better for it if
Warzone will be better for it.
If Battlefield is good, and I mean even the regular base Battlefield, not even just the BR, but if that Battlefield is good and people enjoy playing it, that's good, because we want Call of Duty to be challenged. Like, Call of Duty was never better than, like we've talked about several times, when there were other games that were also good. It doesn't have to be one or the other. We should, as fans of these franchises, want all of these games to be good.
And, you know, I said at the top of the episode, and if anybody missed that, is Battlefield will not kill Call of Duty. Battlefield cannot kill Call of Duty because they're two different games. Just talking about the multiplayer, there are people who enjoy the fast-paced 6v6 arena-style shooter. Like, that's their preference. They're in the action faster. They can control the map themselves with you can have a squad, and you can really control a map with just 4 or 5 of you, and you can and you can dictate the pace of play with your own actions, right? Like, one person in Call of Duty can dictate the flow of the map. One really good player, a couple of players playing together can dictate the flow of the match. Okay. And there's a lot of fun to be had when you play like that, when you have that camaraderie, and there's a lot of skill that goes into that. And and so when you have skilled teams playing each other, like, you can have some very intense, high action, high octane, you know, matches of Call of Duty. And for people who are attracted to that, who love that feel, I think it's, you know, it's hard to beat. Nothing has come close. The closest thing I think we've seen in the last 10 years, I'll say, was X-Defiant. All right. That being said, Battlefield is a very different experience, right? The multiplayer side of Battlefield is much bigger. It requires a buy-in, you know, to be successful requires buy-in from lots of people that you aren't going to communicate. They're not part of your little squad. All right. That, you know, there are factors outside of your direct control that dictate the flow of the game. Yep. Right. You are unlikely as an individual to significantly change the flow of the game, right? And if you're a lower skilled player, it opens up doors too, because if you are having trouble in one part of the map, you go somewhere else, and all of a sudden you run into a completely different set of players. You aren't going to run into the same player over and over and over again, and that's a very different experience. And so, it can be more chaotic in a lot of ways, and it can have a lot more variety to it, which not everybody appreciates and not everybody wants in their experience when they play a shooter. And so to say that the one game can kill the other, I don't think is true. I think they both have a base. They both have a set of players that like that style of game. And they both can and should coexist with each other.
Agree.
Where we will have direct competition is going to be the BR. And if Battlefield delivers, I think Warzone is going to suffer significantly because players, will have a choice. And if Call of Duty is doing, and let's be honest, like BO7, everything they're doing is screaming a throwback to Advanced Warfare. Like, look, right? You have exosuits, wall jumping, double jump, or whatever they're talking about doing. Like, there's a lot that they're trying to work in that is, all the art we've seen from it so far just screams like future tech, right? And that's not an appeal. That's not an appeal to a lot of players, myself included. So I think we're going to see, depending on what they do with Warzone in BO7, we're going to see a really interesting clash between, potentially titans of the BR, and we'll see what comes of it. But I think it's good. It's good to have competition because, like, we're right now, if you've been playing COD, Warzone since it dropped, you're seeing what happens when nobody can produce a BR that's competent, I'll say.
Yeah.
And it produces a stagnant game. It's like sports games right now. Like EA dominates sports for the most part. They dominate football, they dominate hockey. And it's like those games are just stagnant year after year after year. There's no incentive to like fix the bad mechanics. Like, I think it's one of those things where it's good to have competition.
Yep. No. Yep. I agree.
So, but yeah, it's going to be so we'll see. Like, and again, it's all theory right now, right? Because nothing's come out. So starting the end of this week, early access to the beta starts on the 7th, I believe.
That's Thursday, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thursday and Friday is early access. Saturday and Sunday, everybody gets access to it. And then we're off for 2 weeks before we get another crack at the beta.
Mm-hmm.
For weekend number 2. And then we are set.
Yeah.
Like, we'll be off to the waiting game until October 10th.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I really hope, I hope it's good. I think it's going to be, but I'm still gonna reserve a little bit of I'm gonna tap the brakes a little bit until I can get my hands on it and play it and everything. And so, and the one thing, we talk about this all the time on this podcast, but when things are, when we're talking about these games, whether it be Call of Duty or whatever, we're giving you an objective look at the game and like our thoughts on it. So if it's good, we're going to say it's good. If it's bad, we're going to say it's bad. And that's just what you're going to get from us. It's not going to always be rainbows and butterflies. We have both praised and criticized Warzone in the last 3 months,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we'll do the same thing for Battlefield too.
Yeah. And, right now, Battlefield is hitting all the right notes. Warzone is missing a number of notes. And
I'm going to play tonight.
Yeah. I'll play. I am, I will say this, the thing that keeps me playing the most is being able to grind the grind camos out. And so I have one more of those gold tiger camos on the GPR 7,
Nice.
that LMG.
Okay.
Aside from the fact that you can't hit shit with it because it's so inaccurate,
it's a
and
fucking
bouncy.
Earthquake, dude.
When you do hit people with it, it deletes. I will say it deletes people. I got a couple of people surprised that I just melted them. And then I got other people where I spent the entire magazine and they still walked away. So go figure. But yeah. So I want to see how much of that I can get done. I want to see if I can get all of the King's ransoms done before the beta drops. And then it'll just be a slow grind to get it all done. And I'll probably be done with it just in time to stop playing. As it goes. But yeah. Well, I'm kind of out of topics today. I don't know about you.
Same. Yeah. Same.
So, but yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully this is the kick in the pants that Activision needs and Microsoft needs to kind of like shake things up significantly and really turn things in, turn it into the wind and get us a good launch platform for Call of Duty going forward, because they're a little sluggish right now.
Yep.
But on that, thanks everybody for hopping in. We appreciate you listening, and hopefully we will catch you on the next one.
This has been Subone KD, along with J007TV and the Slightly Above Average Gaming Podcast. We're logging off now, so we'll see you next time.